Welcome everyone to another episode of the Global CTE podcast. Listen, when I tell you we are in for a treat today, I have my good friend Gregg Brown from the CAPS network. Let me tell you about Gregg. Gregg is the network coordinator of CAPS, right? The Center for Advanced Professional Studies. So if you're not familiar with CAPS, let me explain it to you. CAPS is a global profession-based experiential learning model that's serving students in 77 affiliate programs in 140 plus school districts. Gregg leads a program that brings business, community, and public education together to produce personalized learning experiences that educate the workforce of tomorrow, especially in high-skill, high-demand jobs. He leverages his experience and background in telecommunications management and over 12 years of education to develop and share value from the innovative CAPS model that increases the human capital for K-12 students in preparation for the jobs of the future. Welcome, Gregg. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here with you, my friend.
I love it. Hold on. One thing. Hold on, everybody. I got to real quick. I got to change my hat here. Let's do this. Okay.
Yes.
Let's get this right. The most important thing. Yes.
OHIO.
We got two Buckeyes here in education and CTE, so I'm excited about this conversation. But welcome, Gregg. Thank you for being here, man.
Thank you so much, buddy, and always great to meet with a fellow Buckeye. And I've just admired your program so much. I've finally caught up on your podcast. I got to listen to Dr. Gibson the other day, and then the lady from South Dakota, I think. And so grateful. I've read your books. They're tremendous content there and curriculum, and obviously you've been a big support to our programs there in St. Louis. So jumped at the chance to be on your program. Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, thank you for being here. So let's talk about it, man. Like CAPS right now, we know 77 affiliate programs, 140 plus school districts. Like how did that get started? I know you were there in the early days.
Yeah, I was. And, I wasn't always in telecom. I was actually in the military for a while and in telecom industry for 30 some years. Went from the monopoly days to the full competitive part. Part of it was Sprint Corporation, which is what brought me from Ohio to Kansas City. And when I had a great career in telecom, loved it, but I had a chance to retire at one of the mergers. And I'd done corporate life and loved it, but thought there might be other opportunities. Not knowing I'd end up in education, I actually went back to college, Baker University, and got a license, not a degree, a license to teach. And I thought, maybe I'll do some, substitute teaching or something on the side. Well, it turned out that my advisor was from Blue Valley, where this idea started, and said, hey, you got to go talk to those folks. And over the course of a couple of years, as they were developing the model, I was finishing up education there, as well as we were turning down our business, and had the opportunity to eventually be a guest speaker, then help on some projects, and then they invited me to actually be an instructor, and I just jumped at the chance. So that was my beginning, and we were just breaking the eggs, man. We were changing stuff. It was and Blue Valley was a very good school and had a great success. But to their credit, and I tell their board this all the time, to their credit, they disrupted themselves. And you and I know, organizations don't do that, especially educational organizations don't do that. We love tradition, we love the routine, we love how things are going. But their foresight saw that, we could be doing something different, we could be doing something better. And this idea of, as you eloquently said at the beginning, was to mix high school with college, with the real world. Give these kids resume-worthy experiences, let them find out what they're good at, what they want to go do for a career, and let them go kick the tires. And I tell you what, we've just had a blast. Other people saw the idea, thought it was really cool, and we got so much attention that we kind of had to form our own association at first. And just recently, we became our own 501c3 to more adequately deal with people that are interested. So it's been a great story, great ride, and we're delighted to be working with professionals like yourself in real instances, giving kids these real experiences, no matter where they come from, right? We think this model fits all situations.
That's powerful. That is beyond powerful. I'm a huge fan of the CAPS network. Everywhere I go across the country, you hear people reference when the school district thinks they're doing something innovative, they'll reference like kind of like the CAPS in Blue Valley. So I think it's really amazing how that's become a model for innovation. What are some of you just spoke to it. I really like that the equity piece to it about saying that it's a model that can work for all students. Can you talk a little bit more about
Delighted to. And you and I've had some conversation. I really enjoyed the podcast with Dr. Gibson, and seeing that we had worked with St. Louis Public in some initial years, and obviously a lot of surrounding areas there. And it's something that I'm glad to see a much broader awareness, right? I mean, I grew up in the 70s, right? I mean, everyone says it. My best friend was a African-American guy. It was a different time. We went through a lot of struggles, and we're growing to appreciate that. And in many ways, unfortunately, I think we've come backwards from those days in the 70s. That's kind of my personal view. So I'm personally wanting to make sure I made my contribution to making things better. And what's beautiful about this model, as you say, is this a model that fits anywhere? So we have of the 77 programs you mentioned, we go from suburban, we have rural, and we have urban places. Probably the most predominant ones are Kansas City Public, and I've been a member here for a couple of years. And then the one that gets a lot of fanfare, really rolled with it, is Little Rock, Arkansas. They are a great one. But no matter if it's just urban, suburban too, kids of any background can go farther down the road, right? I think one of the differences that kids have seen is that from their experiences, their set of experiences might be different. And a suburban kid whose parents are entrepreneurs are going to be different from another kid that, their parents may not have those kind of experiences. And so what we love about this is we get to mix kids and let them see the world, right? They get to meet mentors and people that they may not have even known that there were careers in these areas, right? And you've seen the look on their face. You've worked with a lot of our kids, and just the kind of like wow factor, right? That, man, that can be done. And man, that plays to what my strengths are, or here's some things I might want to go work on so I'm better at that, so I can do that. And it's just, to me, it's the most thrilling element that no matter where kids are, we can help them get further down the road. And this model serves that. We don't, we find a way to give kids opportunities to stretch their ideas and give them a chance to go kick those tires. Go do that. If you think you like accounting, let me put you in a situation where you get to kind of work with numbers a little bit. Or you like marketing, you like to work with people. We'll put you in a real situation, and you can not only feel out if that's something you want to do, but you gain some resume-worthy experience. So that's to be some equity that we think is really cool.
And it really matters. I like how you framed that equity piece too, from suburban to urban, even to rural, and not just necessarily like, a Black, white, Latino, Asian thing, but just even the entire demographics as it relates to equity. And I know you guys do a lot of great work in the rural areas too. And I love that. I tell people all the time, exposure, what you see, then you like believe that, oh, I can do that. I can be that. Like you said, I didn't know someone like that exists. There are jobs that you can get paid to to make PowerPoint slides as a graphic designer, or to I can put my skills to use in coding in different ways, or online market. Like, there's so many things in the programs that you all, from what I've seen from the CAPS network, you all do a great job of.
Well, thank you for that. That's a kind compliment. And as you know, the model is really straightforward. We really try to bring in professionals like yourself and get kids to see that. We got curriculum. That's important. They've got to learn content, right? There's a right way to take blood pressure. Accounting works certain ways. There's rules. There's vocabularies each discipline has, and we have to break it into disciplines, because that's how jobs are organized, right? So you got that element, but the other element that is so important, and where you've been a big help to us, is learning those, people call them soft skills. We don't like that term. We like essential skills, right? That how do I work on a team? How do I apply critical thinking to a problem? For us, it's design thinking. We've used Stanford's model of the engineering design thinking model, and getting those kids to develop those kind of skills, right? And then apply them. That's as important to their education, giving them chances to build a set of skills that it's going to be marketable, right? We want to get kids to have a great life, to have sustainability in their lives, and it's going to require a professional career. So that's the kind of thing that we try to apply.
I like so. Let me go a little deeper on this. So you feel curriculum is important, like the standards, like the 101 type of content, but you really feel like the greatest learning experience is through the experience of the doing of a particular career, like getting your hands dirty, get in there and work through the process of what it means to have this type of job or this type of career or run this type of business. Is that?
It's exactly right. And it's not only just us, it's the industry people we work with tell us that. I had a guy, a name will go unmentioned, but he's a great individual. I was working with IT, he's a vice president of their IT area. He kind of literally grabbed me by the tie, right? He goes, Brownie, I don't want your best test taker. I want a guy that can work on a team and can help solve problems, right? We'll teach them the technical stuff. I won't get them ready for that. And it was an epiphany to me, Sylvester. I said, you know what? And I'm a technical guy, right? I've got several degrees, quantitative, computer science type degrees. And it was shocking for me to have an IT vice president tell me that, right? I was blown away, but it was so true. It's just that, it's these other skills that we don't have to wait till they're in that first career to learn it. Let's put them in those situations now, right? It's better to face drama, to face some adversarial situations when, it's still a safe environment, right? I mean, it's not their job, doesn't depend on it. Let's give them those experiences now that they can take into those next events, and it won't matter. It won't matter to them anymore.
Yeah, I think that the skills are becoming increasingly the focus point in terms of what industry is looking for, as well as critical thinking. I was doing some work with an event with FedEx, and I was talking to a bunch of their senior executive leaders, and we were talking about artificial intelligence, data science, data analysis, and these were older people. And what we were having this conversation, and they were saying something I thought was so heavy. They were like, yes, we need coders, but we need people who understand what we can do with the code, what we can do with the artificial intelligence, what we can do to understand how the business processes that these things can be applied to. And I really believe that goes, when you bring it down to us at the high school, middle school level, we should be focused on elevating those critical thinking skills, the opportunities for the students there. That brings me to a point. Talk to me about entrepreneurial thinking, the entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah, that's the critical one. And I loved your comments about the AI. There's a great book out there to read too called Robot Proof. It's by the president of Northeastern University, who was strategic partner of ours. And he speaks to exactly what you just said. It's the human side of that equation. The technical stuff we'll figure out, but keep emphasizing the human side. The entrepreneurial mindset. So there's really 5 core values to our model. Our model is not complicated. We really don't develop a lot of curriculum. We look for professionals like yourself to do those things. What we try to do is this. Let's focus on professional learning, that is things that lead to jobs that are at professional level, right? It's professional skills that you just mentioned. We got to focus on that. It's the journey, the student journey. Let's give them opportunities to find out what they're good at, as well as what they love, right? I mean, we make them take tests, and they take 100-point tests, and they miss 10 of them. We focus on the 10 they missed, not the 90 that they got right? So let's give them the journey of helping them find out what they're good at and what they like to do. be responsive to the community. And that's where I think the equity thing plays the most part is, look, this is a community. We got to make sure we're an element, that a force for nature that's making change in the right way. But that fifth one you speak to is one they're extremely proud about, and that's entrepreneurial mindset. And it goes to this, a wide range of things. Number one is growth mindset. And you mentioned earlier, showing kids that they can believe in themselves, that no matter what circumstances they're coming from, experience they've had, they can grow, they can get better, they can attain things. So we first try to help them understand that you can grow no matter where you're at now. You can get better at what you want to do. You can learn whatever you want to learn. You become whatever you want to become. They got to start believing that. That's an element of that. The other piece is, as entrepreneurs, that kind of that problem solving you mentioned, the critical thinking is, let me take every situation as an entrepreneur. And that doesn't mean like everyone's going to go out and start a business. Some do. We encourage that. We think that's extremely good. A lot of our programs, those 77 programs, have an element that focus on entrepreneurial type courses where kids want to start a business. They come up with an idea. They do product development. Those are great. With some of our best strands. But it's broader than that. It really speaks to even the medical environment, right? Where there's one correct way to do things. Or even, as I like to joke, being an accounting, one right answer. There's one right answer in accounting. But even with that, right, we got to say, how do I make it better? How do I disrupt it? How do I change it so it's even better? And that, I think, is that difference, right? It plays into what you said about the expectations of those employers, is if they can understand entrepreneurial thinking, and it's businesses, how they operate, how they make a profit, but more than anything, it's them looking at situations, looking at processes, how can I change it? And giving them that formula that says, how do I break it down? How do I understand it? And that's why we embrace that design thinking, which is available to anybody. I mean, not just our program, but Stanford does a really good job of really kind of documenting what that is. A very simple problems. We used to call it problem solving, right? Mm-hmm. Now we call it design thinking for good reason, because I think it shows an outcome that's not just solving an immediate problem, but producing a better environment, a better situation, better outcome. And that's why we've embraced that as one of our 5 core values. Yeah. So as someone wants to start a program, they come in, we don't tell them how to do it. We help them build it themselves. It's kind of a DIY type of situation, or DIY situation. But we say, hey, look, you've got to somehow satisfy these 5 things. And we really look hard. We really help them so they can design these, whether they're courses or experiences where kids get to do it. Some open question, open problem. There is no right outcome. We're going to learn the outcome just as a student does. And that's both terrifying, right? As an instructor, like, oh my God, I don't have a rubric. So it's terrifying. Yet at the same time, it probably fulfills our mission as educators more than any other thing we can do. That's why we're so passionate about it.
And we're in alignment, totally on that. And I struggle with, I'm curious how you're gonna answer this. What do you say to the teachers, to the administrators, the school district, who is, they want to start something like this. They feel like there's a need to be more progressive, but then they're still saying like, well, we still have to teach these things. What's the assessment, Greg? Like, how do we give a grade to this? Like, what are your answers to that? Because I know like the experience is the most valuable part, period, as it relates to what we should be focused on, is trying to prepare our students for success in the global marketplace, to find jobs and careers they care about. But we're still in school. How do we do the grades? What do you say about that?
A great question. And let me answer it real quickly, then I'll expand upon it. And the bottom line is, let's assess the journey, not the destination, right? And so many times, and content's that way. And I taught AP economics, and there are certain things that you want them to get the single right answer. I mean, it's important. That's the content piece. But what is more important, that context piece. And when there's no predetermined outcome, when I can't create a rubric that says, okay, once they produce this outcome, they've made success, that makes me force back on the journey that they follow, right? So did they learn the design thinking? Do they know the steps of that? Did they apply them in the right way? Did they, if they had team conflicts, which I love, right? I want kids to have drama. because we learn from drama. If kids have some conflicts, how do they work through it, right? And it's not that there's that, that they got a check mark, yes or no. It's that they applied things that we're trying to show. So the short answer is that look at the journey and not that destination. And I'll give you even a practical thing. When I was teaching even economics, I'd create a spreadsheet, right? I love Excel, right? You can turn that into any kind of tool. And all these kind of separate events that kind of along the way, right? I bet I had 30 events that would lead up to some culmination of either a presentation or, some other kind of outcome, some team effort, some project. And I'd have like 30 elements to assess. And that, to me, that was perfect, right? Some will do good on others, some will do great on others. And then you could always use that as a feedback tool. Say, hey, look, here's what I saw. Here's what you said you did. Here's what I saw. Let's have a discussion about it. So now it's not just giving them back a quiz answer. It's giving them feedback, right? And asking them questions. Again, reinforcing that there's no single right answer. So that, to me, I think, and that is indeed, I think you're right on. That's the most uncomfortable thing for us as educators is, we feel like, number one, if we make a change, we're going to ruin some kid's life, right? So we're afraid to take risks for fear that we're going to ruin their lives. And then number two is, how do I assess this? So my biggest advice is, so even to administrators who I think more and more school districts are recognizing this kind of a need of CTE and what it brings to the table, is first, be comfortable in taking risks. Don't ignore the standards, but emphasize the ones that are the most important, right? Take risks, build risks into it, compliment teachers for taking risks, give grace, don't, let us learn from mistakes and move forward. And that idea, I think we'll find out that kids are going to get experiences they've never had before. And even though I can't point to a test of what score I got on the test, we can assess that in a very fair way. And they get feedback. In the 7 years I taught, I had one phone call from a parent applying it, just one. So that indicates to me that kids, and I had differentiated performance. Not everyone got an A or even close to it. But I think that showed that, and we shared that with parents up front. I think it showed that it was a joint effort from the teacher and the student, kind of a partnership. And that result, whatever assessment they have, is they were fully aware of it and they accepted it and they moved on. So that's been my approach. I think you're absolutely right on that. That's our biggest fear. And we got to find ways to.
Listen, I hope everyone who's listening, like, you just really dropped some major knowledge and some gems on what the future of education and the future of really assessment of like, how do we process, was this quality work or not? And I like how you said that, pay attention to the journey. That's beautiful. Talk to me about shared resources. I'm curious your thoughts on that, because leading a network of so many different school districts, affiliates, we just had this conversation on our last episode with Fawn Hall. She leads a consortium, statewide consortium, where they're sharing resources and Perkins funds. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on sharing resources, or how do you best practices on that across the network?
Great question. I appreciate it. And I saw that podcast. She did a very fabulous job. And let me give homage to CTE in many ways, several ways here first. Number one is myself. So anything I've accomplished is because I had a CTE teacher in the 70s. Now, we didn't call it CTE, but I did okay on math and science type stuff in English, but it wasn't the best, right? But I took an accounting course, I took an economics course, I took a computer science course. And those sang to me. Those instructors had passion. They showed me things beyond just, here's math, here's how you apply math, right? So the CTE and those teachers are just so important to have out there. The other thing I would say is that CTE is a set of experiences, right? That content side is extremely important. We're seeing growing more ways to embed that into what the more traditional type of courses are, right? So if you looked at, and I'm show you how much of a geek I am. I read the new science standards came out a few years ago, and I read them, end to end, right?
Okay.
And I know, and I don't even teach science, but what was so compelling is that they stated those standards into such a phrase that, well, here's how a scientist would use it, here's how an engineer would use it, right? And they'd have other, but those are the two primary, focus on STEM. And that, I thought that was tremendous. So there's that element of standards that are important. Now, I give a caution there because, and this is where the states can be very helpful. As a marketing guy, one of my disciplines, and I went and read the state requirements for marketing. Well, they're like 30 pages. And I'm thinking, there's stuff in there I'd never touched in a 30-year career, right? So we've got to be very selective. Hopefully that helps teachers out as they go through the CTE in designing that. And then, of course, I want to go ahead and restate your question. I want to make sure I caught that element you were looking for.
That was really powerful. I love how you just framed that. And I would take it, I'm curious, taking it to the level of best practices of sharing what Arkansas CAPS is doing with Salt Lake City, or what St. Louis CAPS is doing with Kansas City or Topeka. And how do you create an environment or a culture or best practices around sharing resources?
Yeah, that's that third element. So I was kind of starting from the bottom. So within the state, you've got, your own local resources. Perkins funding comes in. We don't get too involved in that. And then just regular school funding. That in and of itself is a function there, and it's important. What we have tried to do, because we think the real essence, the real value, the real thing is sharing knowledge and experiences, right? So as a new member comes on, they actually might walk in and have experiences that we don't have, right? So it's not like we become just teaching them everything. We learn from each other. And so the beauty of our network is we got a group of like-minded people that have the same goal. We're not all doing it the singular same way. And those differences, those differentiators become fuel for each other to try things, right? So it becomes one person's innovation, right? An experiment becomes a thought for another one else. So first and foremost, our network just tries to bring people like-minded together. And we do that. We have video calls every other week. For the leadership team, we have them for teachers within disciplines. And then we have the summer huddle that gathers people together. So, and I also should add that we have a platform now, we call it like our collab, where we can put a repository of best practices. So that sharing, we think, is the most critical element of a network, and where we learn from each other. I know you're heavily engaged in CTE, you guest speaker coming up, and I'm attending one in Salt Lake City here in 2 weeks. Those are great venues, right? I mean, the beauty of our industry is they don't have the attitude of not invented here, right? When I was in telecom, if we didn't invent it, we didn't use it. Teachers aren't that way. They are so open to using other people. Steal shamelessly, right? We love that. And so if the more opportunities we can provide for people to interact and learn from each other, we think that's the winning combination. So that's really what our model does. I'm glad you asked that question that way. And finally, I eventually got to answer it, is the opportunity to work with other people. Myself, Corey, my boss, Corey Moan, other leadership teams, and we're very lean, right? It's pretty much Corey and I. It's the value is in all these practitioners. Let's bring it together. We're not walking off the mountain with a tablet, right? We're looking at, hey, let's bring people together. We all will learn from each other. We're all experts, and yet we're all novices at the same time. And that's what we try to do.
Greg, you just hit on a major nugget. I was expecting you to say something close to that, and it was one of the reasons why I really wanted to talk to you, and I was hoping we would be able to pull that out during this interview, was that the community, that emphasis on community, then it's not putting too much pressure or requirement on any one individual or even any one school or school district, but the knowledge base, the impact grows as the community grows. And I love how you also brought to the table that the humility of your leadership in saying that we're not just trying to tell you like, hey, welcome to CAPS, do this, do this, do this. It's like, tell us what you have. You know, like, how do you add value to the community as you are the new entrant, as well as we add value back to you?
Well, thank you. That's a great compliment. I greatly appreciate that.
That's good. So with that being said, how does, for someone who's listening, how do they join? How do they get involved with the CAPS network? What are the requirements? Is it closed? Is it too late? Like,
No, it's
okay.
absolutely open. And, you know, we only seek, and we don't have a marketing campaign. It's really by literally word of mouth that people find out about us. And we're getting, you know, more and more national attention now of what we're doing. So we're very welcome to conversations. And it's whether you're a huge multi-high school district or you're just a teacher in a classroom. I had a conversation earlier this week with one teacher in a small Christian school in Washington. And I, you know, if this model works for them, great. So we don't, you know, we're open to all those kind of things. Let me, if I can share that we have resources are open to anyone, not even just are being a member with us. There are playbooks. And if you go out to our website, is just really just recently revised website, yourcapsnetwork.org. If you can go out to that, you'll find us. You'll see this content. We've got several playbooks. It's kind of like the how-to. So even though we want people to be part of the membership, you know, we also feel there's an obligation to be supportive of the industry. And we've tried to capture those things that you and I have just chatted about, right? How do you build community partnerships outside of the school? How do we focus on what we call profession-based learning? You know, how do you create a project that's real that kids will learn from and put on a resume? And the most recent one focused on, you know, essential skills and how you apply in the classroom. How do you achieve equity in these situations? Those are free. We offer them out there. You can download them, use them as much as you want. And then you'll get more information about our networks if you want to be a part of it. We're open to doing that. There is a fee. It's a conscription type model, kind of a setup fee, then an annual maintenance fee. And we're nonprofit, so we're not making profit. There's only two of us, so we don't have like high overhead costs beyond just what our platforms cost. We would welcome the dialogue, and our only criteria is, as you mentioned, that you're committed to those five core values. And that's why reason why organizations have long-running CTE programs. They're great. It's not like you're starting from scratch. Here's 5 ways to kind of enhance what they're doing. As long as you design those and you have leadership commitment, right? I mean, it takes a lot. You have to have the commitment of your own district, kind of from head to toe. Then you've got to make sure that people in the community are committed. As long as those things are present, you know, and we welcome folks to join us.
Man, that's great. And let me just say, I've had the pleasure of seeing several of the CAPS communities, working with Topeka and Tim Morrell, great program. The Spark program in St. Louis here, like just powerful. And then how that's even evolved into the STL CAPS, like the whole network. Like, I was there in those early meetings when we were creating Spark just as an idea, to now Spark gets connected with all these different strands through the CAPS network. And I'll share, so I got to say this to you. I saw some students, so my son was able to participate in one of the entrepreneurship pitch competitions through the Catalyst. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Catalyst.
That's right. Yep.
The ideas, the level of knowledge that these kids were presenting, their sophomores and juniors, talking about KPIs and Facebook ads and automations and marketing. I was like blown away in terms of where the bar is now. And I see it like for those school districts and the collaboration through that Catalyst thing, there were multiple school districts that were participating, supporting each other, education foundations from the school district. So like, I was really just blown away by seeing that experience. My son ended up getting second place or third place. I was proud of him on that.
Love it.
but the community, man, the collaboration and what you all are doing, it really is the future of education. It looks more like the model that you guys have.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate your comments, and it's people like you that make it real, right? Your participation in those programs. It's not just instructors that we want to be on, kind of like on the sideline instead of the sage on the stage. We want to be on the sideline and bringing professionals like yourself and letting kids get exposed. I'm glad for the opportunity your son had and great success he had. And you mentioned that collaboration. So we're very fortunate in St. Louis area and also Salt Lake City, Minneapolis, Kansas City, that there are so many programs, they collaborate among themselves. They don't need to go through headquarters to go talk to each other, right? They just, hey, let's get together. And that's, we didn't design it that way. It just happened, right? It's the beauty of what happens when you just kind of start something, then you get the hell out of everybody's way, including the students. Look at, you talk about those kids performing, right? We've been conditioning them to be in a chair and not say anything for 12 years. And we got to break that. They have so smart, their experiences are worthy enough that they can come up with ideas and come up with new products and come up with solutions. We just got to give them that chance. Yeah, so I like how you said that.
And something, as it relates to the students, I think about this too, Greg. Why should they wait? Why should a kid who has that interest in medicine or to be an educator or in business or in finance, why should they wait until junior year of college to understand online marketing when they have the capacity? They have the capacity to understand the information at an earlier age. So what happens if we teach that kid who has demonstrated that interest what if you learn all the bones in the body in the 9th grade? How much, in the 10th grade, in the 11th grade, how much further are you along in your profession when you get to college and you already know this stuff? Like you're seeing it, it's not the first time you're coming across it. You have like real depth of knowledge of working in the hospital, working in the marketing department, creating curriculum as a teacher, like all these different strands, man. So I think, again, just hats off to you. So look, last question.
No, I think you're right on too. I think that, and we're starting to see that there's a lot of these academy models in high schools where they kind of are starting to design that. We're seeing a lot more exposure at earlier ages, at least to ideas. And I'm with you. I think that's critical. I think we got to make sure a balance between not specializing too early, right? So I taught or coached soccer for 20 years, and I never wanted kids to specialize into being a goalie or a forward or a middle person. Let's rotate it, keep working for years and try all those. So don't over specialize too early. However, like you just said, you might start making decisions earlier. You can develop more knowledge about those topics earlier. So we're in that midst of that mix right now. We're kind of trying to sort that out. A lot of models are doing, but I think you're right on.
Yeah, that's heavy stuff. I like that, the exposure to it and breaking it down. So I know, Greg, thanks for coming by the podcast, man. And I just found out you're retiring, so I know you're on your world tour right now. So last question for you. Give us your best piece of advice as it relates to all these other educators and administrators who are going to be here for the next 20 years. What does the future of career tech education, what does it look like to you? What are you saying they should focus on?
Well, thank you for that compliment and congratulations as well. And a great question too. I'm fortunate that I have served in several industries, including the military industrial complex, and seeing a lot of things. And there's, no matter what industry, I think there's a lot of commonality that we're after, and it comes down to the objectives you set and how you go about reaching them, right? And I think that we want to continue to define better outcomes, right? It's not just the grades, it's, experiences. And I think we're going to see this revolution. You see certifications coming up, you see, different ways to assess skills. I think that's beautiful. So I would ask teachers to support those, be radical, be risk takers, do not, be fearless in the sense you're not hurting kids. You're giving them opportunities of learning they never would have had before. So it's take risks, keep trying, experimenting, and learn from those experiences, apply it right away, but keep driving towards this new set of outcomes. The definitions of success that we defined 100 years ago as we were, going into the first industrial revolution has changed. And we as educators, I think it's a fair criticism from other parties that we may not have caught up with that. So, but I think people are motivated. They want to do the right thing. I'm not throwing rocks at our industry. We want to do the right thing. That right thing now is taking risks, making changes, and producing a wider set of outcomes.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg. Thank you for all the work that you're doing with the
Thank you, fellow Buckeye.
OHIO all the
IO.
way.
I got to take a picture of that when we're talking.
Yeah, I know.
The two of us there.
Let me grab that. Hold on. All right, I got it.
Awesome. Same here, buddy. Hey, I greatly appreciate this opportunity. Thanks for all the good work you do. Keep fighting the good fight. We love being partner with you, and let us know how else with things we can do together, buddy.
100%. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Make sure you go follow Greg on LinkedIn. He's a joy to follow. Tap in with the CAPS Network,
Yep.
yourcapsnetwork.org, yourcapsnetwork.org. Lots of great free information there for you to tap in and figure out a way to join and be a part of this community, a contributing part of this community. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend, a colleague, a coworker, or just give us a like or subscribe. And remember, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. Peace.